to the BuiltOnAir podcast, the variety show for all things Airtable. Each episode, we cover 4 different segments. It's always fresh and different and lots of fun while you get the insider info on all things Airtable. Our hosts and guests are some of the most senior experts in the Airtable community. Join us live each week on our YouTube channel every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern and join our active community at BuiltOnAir.com/join. Before we begin, a word from our sponsor, OnToAir.com. Any business running on Airtable gets the value that Airtable has, but also needs a few more functions to complete their operations. That's where OnToAir comes in. It's a suite of tools for any business running on Airtable to maximize your operations efficiencies and automations. One customer, John, states that OnToAir enables his business to function properly without having to think about building their own software, and that is pretty invaluable. The OnToAir Airtable apps are amazing, and we use them often and are very happy with the results. So join John and hundreds more customers and take your Airtable to the next level with OnToAir. Sign up today with promo code BuiltOnAir for a 10% discount. Check them out at OnToAir.com. And now let's check out today's episode and see what we built on air. Welcome to the BuiltOnAir podcast. This is season 10, episode 5. Good to be with you live. We've got a special guest with us, Shae Redding-Rogers. Welcome, Shae.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Good to have you on. We'll get to learn a little bit more about you and what you're up to later in the show. And we got myself, Dan Fellers, and regular guest, Alli, up to later in the show. And we got myself, Dan Fellers, and regular guest, Alli Alosa with us. Welcome, Alli.
Hello. Thank you.
All right. And Camille may join us later. We'll see if we can get Camille. She might be not feeling good today, so we'll excuse her if she doesn't show up. So good to be with everybody. As always, we do a live show every Tuesday, 11 a.m. Eastern. And we always go through 4 different segments. I'll walk through what we're going to be talking about today. We always start off the show talking about what's going on in the Airtable communities, get you caught up on everything Airtable. Then we'll do a spotlight on our primary sponsor, OnToAir. We'll then learn more about Shae, what she's up to, and her story. Then Shae will then share with us her CRM that she's built for her business. We'll then learn a little bit more about our BuiltOnAir community. And then finally, Alli will walk us through an audience question. And that will wrap up today's show. So let's begin. Round the bases. We always like to find out what's going on. We like to start with the Airtable community. So Airtable made 2 announcements this week on 2 sets of features. I'd say 1 good, 1 bad. We want to start with the good or the bad first?
Bad. Might as well just pull the Band-Aid off.
All right. We'll go bad. Okay. All right. Anybody want to give an overview of the new expanded record viewer editor?
Yeah. I've heard good and bad. I also have good and bad opinions about it. I like it for some reasons. I mean, I think it's cleaner. I think it looks nicer. I don't like, and this is the number 1 complaint I've heard from everyone as well, how you can't really easily tell what's editable and what's not. And then furthermore, somebody pointed out, which I thought was a really interesting point, how they included, start typing here, ... in the fields that are editable. And somebody was like, what if I don't want somebody to type there? Like, I want to keep that field hidden for a reason and not I want it to be more inconspicuous. And that kind of points it out for everybody, which is a negative.
Here, let me show real quick for the audience what we're talking about. So this is when you expand a record. They changed it. It used to be like the label was above and then the input was below. And now it's 2 columns, left and right, and it all just kind of blends together. They also got rid of the icons, so you don't know what field type it is.
Yes.
And that's really silly. Why? I don't know if that was just a complete miss on their part, or if they thought about it and felt like they didn't need those icons.
I can tell you I got lost when I opened this up, and I was staring at it forever trying to figure out what just happened. And then I realized it was an upgrade.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I can't find anything.
Yeah.
Like, just where is, and I'm the one that designed it, and I still couldn't find anything. So it was a little traumatic.
Yeah. We're getting some feedback here from our listeners. I don't think we have fans of this new upgrade. Yeah, it's very and there's no like separation. There's nothing. It all just kind of blends together. It's really interesting. I think of anything. Let me get one more in here. Scott talking hyphens in the calculated fields, which makes no sense. So yeah, you can't tell that it's a formula versus a input field. I was amazed the amount of pushback that this feature got. Like this probably got the most pushback of any feature release that I've seen. It was kind of crazy from not just, you always get kind of the regulars that are listening to our show today, but you got a lot of new people as well coming in and like signing up for the community just to, push back on this. There's a lot of new people. Here's one first post. And even some new stuff as recent as 2 hours ago. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see if they're just going to push forward or if they're listening. We've seen them do both in the past. Sometimes they do listen to the feedback and they make changes. Sometimes they don't, and they feel like they know what's best, and so they move forward.
Yeah, I saw Bill French wrote in the Slack channel, the BuiltOnAir Slack the other day, about how, like, why don't they just say, how like Outlook has a new version, and every time I open up Outlook, it's like, try the new version or keep the old one. Like, that would be very welcome, I think, in a situation like this.
Yeah. Or like Google Chrome, you can go into, a page where you can check all the experimental features you want to try out. And yeah, so definitely I think they need to figure out their A/B testing and their upgrade path to get more feedback without just going live.
And they need to give people more options because all of us use Airtable in so many different ways that it's not that cookie cutter, which is why we love Airtable. But then the back end also has to remember that it's not so cookie cutter. And so you have to give us options because, it gets confusing.
Yeah.
Agreed. I think I would love, and I've seen a lot of people mention this, that the new expanded record view does give me like kind of Coda vibes, and how I want to be able to drag things around, and it would be really cool if that's the direction they're heading in, because like how Coda lets you really design like an actual like sheet that looks nice with images and a cover and like headers, and I think that would be awesome if we're headed in that direction. I'm all for it.
Right.
I'm just trying to get the tabs to be a different color.
Yes.
Very basic. That's all I want.
It's the basic things in life. Yes. I know. Yeah. But you would think that if that was the direction they're moving, like they would have responded to all this pushback and been like, guys, we understand this is where we're moving. Give us a vision of where you're going. It is frustrating, the lack of communication, and poor Jordan, who's kind of the gatekeeper in the community, kind of gave up. I think she was responding early on, and I haven't seen her respond in a while in this thread, at least. So definitely if a lot of people came here saying, man, I thought like my website was broken, or I had like a Chrome extension like messing up the UI, or multiple people said they were refreshing multiple times waiting for sometimes the CSS doesn't load correctly or something, and they were just expecting it to come back to how it was.
No,
not gonna happen. So anyways, if you're listening, and I'd be curious to hear those that are fans of it. Some people like it. I've heard or seen other people that like. I think some people could be okay with it with improvement. Like I think, you know, adding the icons back, putting some kind of notification around the input fields or some way to know. Like I think they, you know, the concept of a left sidebar and a right sidebar, I don't think that's what people are upset about, right? It's all the other stuff. So I think they could still salvage.
See the difference.
Yeah, right.
And you kind of need to see the difference.
Yeah.
Because it's the back end. It isn't the front end.
Yeah. So we'll see what kind of response Airtable gets. I think when's their next table talk is next week, I think, when they're supposed to talk about the future roadmap. That'll be an interesting one to see what happens there. So let's move on. All right, we've done the bad. Let's talk a little bit of good. This one, I think generally everybody's happy with. So this feature is they added bulk field operations or more bulk field. They had, what did they have before this? They had just grouping, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know they recently, before this changed, I was getting like a tooltip saying you can select more than one field by holding command and selecting them. But then I was like, if I can't move them all after doing that, what's the point of even selecting more than one?
Yeah.
But this is awesome. This is going to be a huge time saver.
Yes.
Yeah, this is really cool. So basically, to summarize, you can select multiple fields either by holding down control and doing what this screenshot is showing, where you select on the other one, or if you can, I believe, let me double check that, but I believe you can do them out of order as well if you just hold down control or Apple. Yeah, so you can select them out of order as well. And then right click. And then, oh yeah, so I think maybe it was permissions that you could set before, but now there's permissions. You can automatically filter, you can group, you can hide the hiding, and that's really cool. Or you can move them around. I wonder if the moving around, yeah, so you can move them like that and shift them around. I don't know if that worked. The other cool thing that somebody said that I haven't tried yet is, let me find the comment where somebody said it. Is that you can actually copy them from one base and paste in another base or table. Maybe not base to base, maybe it's just table to table, but you can actually copy fields and then automatically paste them into another table.
Oh, that would be a lifesaver for me.
Yeah, right there. You can copy and paste multiple columns between tables. So that feature is really cool. That helps not, you know, if you're reworking your data structure, then that comes in handy to move things around. I remember I had a consulting project where we completely reworked it, and I created a new table, and I had like 50 fields, and I had to recreate them in the new table because I didn't want to make a copy of the existing table because there was another one existing that we wanted to move. And it's just like an hour of your time just recreating fields. So this will be very helpful. People pointing out that it was permissions that existed before. So thanks for that. Looks like we got a friendly, familiar face listening to the show. Welcome, Camille.
Yay.
Okay. Any other thoughts on the bulk field operations?
That's game changer for what I'm trying to do. So I'm excited.
Yeah. Cool stuff. Very good. So congrats, Airtable. You're 1 for 2 in this week's feature releases. So we'll give you an A+ on this one, and maybe I don't know what we give on the other one. Not as good. All right. Camille is alive, so she's just going to join us from the comment section today. Airtable batting 500. That's better than baseball, I guess. So, but if we look at all theirs, it might be a different story. All right, next topic. We're moving to the Reddit category. And this is a common one. I thought I'd throw it out there. I think it comes up pretty regularly. How do people do reports and charts in particular? And it seems like there just is not a good answer here. I was interested to see what people talk about. You know, people talk about moving the data externally to something like Google Data Studios or Power BI, things like that. So I don't know, any thoughts on charts? Obviously, there are chart apps that you can use in Airtable, but you can't export those, which is one of the big requests. Similar with Page Designer, other than a PDF export. Alli, how do you do charts?
Well, it depends a lot on the use case. Like if it needs to be shared externally, if it's just internal, then a lot of times you can accomplish it with just the regular chart apps, or now in the interface as well. But if it needs to be external, then there's a lot of challenges in place. And that's when you probably need to export to data Google, like the design studio. I can't remember what it's called. I actually haven't tried that method yet, and I've always wanted to. And then another thing I do is the Vega-Lite, can't remember.
Vega-Lite, yeah. I say Vega. Yeah, we'll have to ask Bill how to say that. He's the expert there.
Yeah, I like that because it's a lot more flexible than the regular chart app. You can actually like compare two different data sets at the same time. You can choose the colors you want, but it is a little buggy in my experience.
Yeah,
inside of Airtable.
And a bit more technical skill set to use that one. Yeah, so I don't know, Shae, any thoughts on charts? Do you do anything?
No, I stay out of the world of charts. I'm still trying to make sure I understand the basics of just Airtable. Let's not add more to the game.
Yeah, you'll get there. You'll get there. It's you know, especially for businesses of any size that are needing to do reports and whatnot.
Yes.
Yeah, I as an app developer, I'm always thinking about, you know, how to solve that. It's not an easy problem to solve, which is why I think there aren't great solutions out there. One approach that we take is we have integrations with like Google Docs and Google Sheets, and Google Slides. And so we have some clients that customers that push their data to Google Sheets, and Google Sheets has better chart building functionality. And you can then even just export that sheet, that chart, or generate an image off of that chart. And we have ways to pull that back into Airtable as an image or whatnot. So that's one way, but it's still lots of moving parts to just get charts that are exportable. So that's something that's kind of in the back of my mind of maybe finding a solution for at some point, but it's not an easy thing to solve. But we shall see. So I think there is an opportunity in there. It looks like some people use Softer. Bubble, something that I'm getting more involved with in that world. So maybe there's something there. But this is definitely an unsolved problem that I think there's an opportunity if there's anybody looking for something to solve in the Airtable world.
Right.
All right. Here's one from the Facebook community. Erica asks about organizing automations within a base. And she points out she's at 22. There's a funny comment here. It says, the good news is that there's a limit of 25. So you're pretty much close to the limit. So it can't be much more unwieldy than what you're close to now. But I think she's pointing out that you can't like rearrange the automations. You can't move them up and down, and there's no grouping like there is with views. So I know this is a frustration on the automation side.
It's so true. I don't even know if it's like, I don't even know what the order is. Like, is it the order you create them in? I think it is.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, even if they were just alphabetical, then I could number them. Like, I just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what somebody said is like make a copy of it and then delete the previous one, because then the copy will be at the bottom.
But then you lose your history.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know how good an idea that is, but yeah, that's what Rebecca.
The basics. We need to be able to just organize the automation.
Yeah.
Not a whole redesign, just the basics.
Right. Yeah, there's some core stuff that would just
Rebecca says history schmistery.
Yeah. Who needs history?
I often need it.
Yeah, it does come in handy. Organizing history would be nice as well, because that gets unwieldy. Or being able to search through all your history.
Yes.
That is frustrating. Like, especially if something fails and I need to go back and rerun it. It's like it just puts a new one at the top and then everything shifts down and then I can't remember which one I just reran. And it's it's like, why can't it just have a little more information there?
Yeah.
Or a search bar. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. Last week I was trying to troubleshoot an issue and I had to, I kind of knew generally when the automation ran, like within an hour, but it was running like every couple minutes. And so I had to go one through one and look at the output of each time. It was like, if I could just search through, like in Zapier, you can search and it'll search through everything. Rebecca asked if you can rerun an automation. Only if it's failed, right?
Yeah, only the failed ones. And it's funny you say that because the other day I was like, I wanted to rerun one that hadn't failed just because I was being lazy. And I was like, oh, I need to redo that. And I couldn't. So yeah, only if it failed. And I would think that, yes, Rebecca, it probably does count towards the limits because it just creates a new instance of that automation.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think it does. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So to rerun it, if you're in test mode, then you can kind of run it without it counting towards your limit. But yeah, that's one workaround there. So, all right, moving on. Here's one from YouTube. This is Connor. He actually has a pretty good channel if you want to check out. If you're learning how to do things, he goes deep into like building a product or something. And I thought this one was pretty cool. I didn't watch all of it, but I watched enough to kind of get a gist of building an e-commerce store in Airtable and using Stripe's new payment links feature that they came out with a couple months ago, and where you could basically kind of encapsulate everything inside an Airtable and use Stripe's payment pages to collect your data. So kind of cool. You could kind of build like using kind of the gallery view to kind of create a makeshift store and then click on them to purchase via Stripe. So if you're into e-commerce and you're looking for more, this is a good video I thought was worth sharing, going deep into step-by-step guides on how to do that. So I'm going to save this last one. I need Camille, if you're listening, jump on. I need you on to hear this. If you're feeling okay, if you're feeling up to it. If not, we'll save it till next week. So no biggie. So that's kind of what's going on in the world of Airtable this week. We're really waiting to hear back from Airtable. I think there's a couple things. If you watched the last few weeks of our episode, there's still some outstanding pricing update. Hopefully announcements coming, and we can learn from that. So hopefully Airtable will make an appearance and let us know what's going on behind the scenes on a couple points there. So with that, we're going to move on to OnTair, who's our primary sponsor. OnTair is an all-in-one toolkit to run your business on Airtable, a variety of different apps to perform and enhance your Airtable experience. If you're running your business on Airtable, you have to check out OnTair. And with that, for this one, I want to show, we just put up Hannah, who's our amazing marketing manager, runs all the marketing and content, posted this week a new article talking about how to create custom forms showing filtered records in Airtable I know this is a big request, and being able to kind of set up an environment. The typical example I use is kind of a car where you can choose the make, and then based off of the make, it'll filter another selection to choose the model. And so you can have multi-tiered selections within your forms. And OnTair Forms can do that with our integration with Jot Forms. So it does require using Jot Forms, which is a pretty advanced form solution. So if you're interested in more advanced forms, check out OnTair. Here's a great resource we'll have in our show notes that walks you through how to set that all up. So good stuff there, a new resource that's on the OnTair website. Check it out, part of our suite of apps you can get. Very good. Wait, before we get to you, we've got Camille joining by audio. Camille, how are you?
I'm all right. I have returned from the ether.
All right.
Good to hear.
Good to have you back on. Okay, so Camille, I wanted you on. One quick thing. This is a little bit outside the norm, but I was watching some football over the weekend.
Oh, God. Is that why you called me on here? How dare you?
It's not about football, is it? And so during commercials, there is this ad from Chick-fil-A. I want you to listen to this.
All right.
Can you hear that?
No.
No. All right. I've got to adjust my settings.
For everyone's reference, I'm a Chiefs fan, so I'm already not.
Oh, see, I would have assumed you were a Rams fan.
No, my dad's from Kansas City, so I'm already not in the best mood. And yesterday I had a minor health episode, so I just feel attacked right now.
I'm with you. I was completely just heartbroken. Completely heartbroken.
All right. Hold on.
And then San Francisco also lost.
Oh, yeah.
Testing.
Makes me feel.
Can you hear this?
Yeah.
This is.
Okay. So this commercial came on.
Hi, my name is Janae, and a little thing I love about the Chick-fil-A chicken tortilla soup is it makes me feel warm inside. This is what cozy feels like. This is what bundling up in a blanket next to a fireplace with people you love feels like.
That is very uncanny.
I know you have lots of jobs. I want to know, are you a voice actress as well?
No, that's actually really creepy.
That sounded just like you.
I have never heard anyone sound so similar to me. Yeah, what the hell? Also, my mom found this show on Amazon Prime. I've forgotten the name now, but apparently the main character's name is Camille Parks. And I was like, what are the odds?
Nice.
That's not a common name.
That's funny. So that is not you.
No, it is not.
Wow.
It should be.
Yeah.
I know. I was like, Camille's in LA. She likes to stay busy. She's got lots of jobs. I bet she's a voice actress on the side.
It's not a bad guess. It's just not. It isn't me, but it does sound exactly like me.
Truly.
Yeah, right. Well, if you're watching football, that seems to air quite a bit. So next time you hear it.
That was awesome.
All right, very good. Okay, well, feel free to join, or if you need to hop off, that's fine. But
sure thing.
Okay, next we've got Shae. Shae comes to us from upstate New York. Is that where you're at?
Yes, I am.
All right, we're glad to have you on. Shae, why don't you tell us a little bit about your back history, your story? Love to hear what you're doing and how you found Airtable. What's your experience been like working in the Airtable world?
Oh, well, thank you. I am Shae Redding-Rogers. I'm an architectural photographer, which basically that means I photograph buildings. I live in New York State, although I am a Brooklyn girl, so I kind of pretend I still live in New York City. I actually heard of Airtable back in 2017. A virtual assistant that I was trying to hire told me that I was a hot mess and that all of my documents that were hard copy paper sitting on my desk, needed to be scanned in, and I needed to use a software. And I was like, you mean like Excel? And she's like, no, you need Airtable. And I was like, what's Airtable? She's like, here, just sign up, play with it. And I was like, okay. So I signed up and I was like, nope, don't want to do this. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to keep the account. 2 years later, well, no, 3 years later, 2020, I was in a virtual meeting and everyone was putting their information in the chat and I panicked. I was like, how am I supposed to contact all these people if I don't have a business card? This is not going to work. And then my brain said, oh my gosh, you just watched something on YouTube about Airtable and this guy had an amazing base and duh, use Airtable. So while I was in the meeting, I immediately opened up Airtable, which was on my computer, by the way. And I just started putting everybody's information in a table. And I was like, okay, now how do I make this actually work? And ended up calling up the human being that I saw on YouTube. And I was like, how do I make this work? I can't figure it out. Nothing's working. I don't understand links. I don't understand records, like all these weird words. And the person was like, you need to understand databases. So I went back to my favorite thing, YouTube, and watched an 8-hour video of databases to figure out what a database is.
Wow.
And from there, with his help and a bunch of other people, I was able to come up with something that I called Network Relationship Database. And then the rest of the world told me it's just a CRM, Shae. And I was like, no, this is like a miracle that just happened. And they're like, no. But to me, it's the best thing on earth because, I made it. So I have that. I love Airtable. It has changed the way I look at how I want to run my photography company. There are a couple softwares that are out there now that do what I'm trying to do, but I would have to change the way I think in order to work with those softwares. And I'm kind of tired of that. I've been doing photography for over 10 years now, and it's time for things to work the way I want them to work instead of me working the way they want me to work. So that is where Airtable comes in, and I'm happy to be there. I love BuiltOnAir. The community has helped me build even more bases than I could even count on. I sometimes feel like I drive them insane because I'm always in there with the same question, not understanding that I'm doing the same thing. But I really would not be anywhere without the community. So thank you guys for that.
That's awesome. Very cool. And when was it that you found Airtable? When did you start using it?
Officially April 2020, but I had it on the computer since 2017.
Awesome. Okay, so 2020, so not too long, less
No,
than
so it's only, it isn't even 2 years yet.
Yeah. Very cool. And so you're doing photography and do you do anything? What are your other interests? I think you've got some interesting stuff outside of that, right?
Well, I've now become addicted to no-code movement. And so I've joined a couple of different groups of learning more of that, learning more softwares that I can do more without actually having to code. I knew a little bit of JavaScript from high school and a little bit of college, but nothing enough to actually build a full-blown database with Java. So I'm kind of doing that. And since I do have the art side of me, I do a lot of artistic stuff where I'm making books or I'm doing flyers or I'm doing photographs for thumbnails and stuff. And so I try to continue down the artistic road, which is sometimes my problem with Airtable is I want to put the artistic side of it and just make it look gorgeous, and then none of it works.
Yeah.
So I kind of do that a lot. But when it's just me and my free time, just figuring out how to do something and learn something different that I wouldn't technically need to know, that's kind of what I love to do.
Yeah, very good. I'll put a plug for your website up here if anybody's in the what area do you cover?
Oh, everywhere. Oh no, I don't stop. I technically, if I have to drive somewhere, it's Connecticut, Boston, New York City, New Jersey, Philadelphia. But I mean, a plane ticket is not that expensive. And also, I was able to build my entire website using Webflow. So last year's journey was learning Webflow, which
it's a whole
that was
other
hard.
world. Yeah. Is it connected to Airtable or no?
No, this is all on its own. I know that you can connect things, but I do have a tendency of putting things in its box and not having things talk to each other. So my goal this year is to get out of that. Things don't need to talk to each other, because it would be a lot easier if I did start connecting stuff. My brain hasn't gotten there yet.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, I know there's a third party tool that helps sync Airtable with Webflow.
Yes.
I think it's Noble.
Yeah.
Yeah. Noble. Yeah. Very good.
Thank you.
Got some fans there. Awesome. Any other questions for Shae? If not, Shae is going to show us how she runs her business. So we'll move on here. So we're putting this under the Automate Create, and we'll share your screen. There it is.
Oh, perfect. I have no idea what's going on. I'm going to enjoy this. I'm also going to be apologizing now. I make faces, so I'm sorry. Right, I'm going to click on my side, and please let me know if you guys can still see this. We're still good?
Yes.
Yep. Yay. Okay. So like I said, back in 2020, I was sitting in a meeting and I needed to put everybody's information in there. After 3 different redos, that is my theory. You can never do this once and think that it's done. And you can most definitely never do it twice and think that it's done. But by the 3rd time, it's done. So I ended up going through a couple of different generations of this. And the one thing I realized that I needed to also add my spirituality to anything that I did within the business and without the business. So I changed names for things. I got things linked the way they needed to go. And the first thing you see is my ingredients. I look at human beings as another way to make things work. Everything is linked with just energy between us. And so I wanted the base to show that also. And people to me are just ingredients into a bigger plan. And so first thing I did was, of course, name it ingredients. I have a bird's eye view, but I wanted to make sure that when I put people's information in here, I also would have a photograph of them. I am a photographer, so I only think with photographs, which also is a dilemma. But I'll never remember your name. I'll always remember what you look like. Then I had to think of, okay, when I opened up the record, I needed to see what planet they worked with, which is their companies. And so I have any network groups that they're with and also the company that they are with. Then I wanted to go into what industry they were in and how many meetings we had. The beauty of this database, the only thing that is automated is once you sign up on my calendar link or my Calendly, you then get put onto my calendar and it automatically gets put into here. So I don't have to go anywhere to figure out what meetings I have. I just have to come into Airtable and it tells me what meetings I have. Records there. And then we go a little bit further to actually getting as much information as I can. You'll be surprised how much you could find out about people online, especially on LinkedIn. Then once I actually have a meeting with people, I ask them what their astrology signs are. I love astrology. And it kind of lets me know if I could joke with you or not. Aquarius are amazing at joking, but they can also be very serious. So you kind of have to balance that out. But I love knowing what your sign is. Then I decided that I needed to have my own personal links to contact with them. So if they have a calendar link, I add that to this. If they have a Facebook that I secretly found, I add that to this. If they have a LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, anything that I could find to keep track of them, it all goes in here. When it comes to Evernote, I needed to keep track of everybody's emails. And back then, Evernote had it where you could have URL links to individual notebooks. I'm hoping that they bring this back because I loved it. I was able to link everybody's notebooks to here, and it turned into their own website of every email that we sent back and forth. It was awesome. So hopefully they bring that back. Then for my personal thing, I needed to know if they were related to anybody that I met. So that is where, that is where the related comes into. And then if they were in the network groups that I met, what's my personal status? Do I like them or do I not? That is where active comes in. I have a whole group of people that are deactive, which means I don't talk to y'all. You've met me once, you'll never meet me again. But if you're active, I will become your best friend because I enjoyed you. I enjoyed your energy. I enjoyed talking to you. And so that's kind of my personal, like, okay, this person I'm going to invest my time into. Then it came up to, are we networking? Is this a photography client? All this information just so I could keep track of them. I also have a to-do list, which is also now called my tarot deck, because sometimes when I need to remember to call someone, it was like, just pull a card and decide this is who I'm going to talk to today. And so that's where the tarot comes into. And then I also need to keep track of the referrals in and out. That's also really big for networking. This space has saved my life. Oh, excuse me. Excuse me, saved my life more than anything. I remember I needed to have things automated to change for years. I got help with that. It lets me know anything for the meetings. That's what alignments are. This is nothing but my meetings page. And it tells me who it is. I link them. It automatically comes in from Calendar Link. And it just gives me, let's see if all this is in here. You're going to show me all my stuff? Nope. We'll go with this. It basically gives me all the information that I need from that person. So when I go to the meetings, I know what I'm doing. I have different categories, there we go, to let me know if it's an event, person, networking, phone calls, anything that would just make sure that when I meet that person, they think I got my stuff together, even if I don't. And then I have the planets that just lets me know the companies that I have met with or the network groups that I've met with. And I have linked those, like I showed you before, with the people. And this just, once again, lets me go to those meetings and say, hey, how is your company? You know, how is the active sports? What's going on there? And then the person's, of course, impressed because they're like, you remembered. And I'm like, yeah, of course I did. No, I have a base that helps me remember that. The last thing I want to say, can I stop sharing that real quick? Oh, you guys can keep that. Sorry. The next thing that I'm working on that I kind of worked on last year, but I'm clearly going to have to continue working on this year, is a bookkeeping database. I realized that I didn't have anything that had my contracts, that had my invoices. This is what the virtual assistant was telling me back in 2017 that I needed. And so I figured I'm ready to tackle that now. And I have been in BuiltOnAir community just racking everybody's brain on how do I do this formula and how do I fix this? I'm officially on phase 2 because phase 1 has completely fallen apart. So now we're on phase 2 of, okay, how do I make this simpler? How do I bring my craziness that I'm thinking in my brain to come down to a little bit smaller so that it looks as organized and decent as I really want it to be? But it's going to take a while. So I'm on phase 2 for this year where it'll even tell me the calculation of all of the invoices. Somehow, some way, we're going to figure that out. But that's where I'm at now. Thank you, guys.
We will get you back on when that one's ready to demo.
Yes.
So yeah. One thing, you know, those that have done a lot of database design, one of the hardest things is naming conventions and like trying to name things. I think you have the award for best naming. I've never heard of like contacts be named as ingredients.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it took me a minute to really decide how did I want things to not just be named, but flow. Mm-hmm. Trust me, the third time I got it together. But it really was, okay, now put yourself in this. You have the basics of what it's supposed to be. Spruce it up and make it your own.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool. Good stuff there. That's awesome. So and you kind of like, I know there's a lot of people that kind of separate their work CRM and their kind of personal CRM. You've kind of merged those into one world.
Yes, and the bookkeeping one will eventually go into Nerd. That's why I need the tables that have different colors, because having it all in one thing is going to confuse me because they are two different things. But I need it to be separate first so I could see it. Thank you. And then eventually I could bring them all together because the companies are the same that I'm basically networking with. So putting them in two different bases is kind of redundant, but I'm just not there yet mentally to put them all together.
Yeah. Did you say what NERD stood for? Did I miss
Network Relationship Database.
That's okay. Very good.
Thank you.
NERD. Very, very applicable.
Yes, which was even funnier because once I was done, I was like, oh, it's Network Relationship Database. They're like, Shae, really? I'm like, oh my gosh, it's nerd. I'm such a nerd. I love it. It's totally me.
You could put an entity in there, network entity relational database.
Yes. I love it. Thank you guys for allowing me to show you this.
Very cool.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Thanks for showcasing that. And I love it. I mean, just one person companies that can do everything in Airtable and compete with the bigger players and make it your own. So that's awesome.
Thank you.
All right. Before we get to our last segment, a quick plug. As Shae was mentioning, she's active in the community, and there's lots of amazing people in there that are always willing to help out. I'm pushing to get to 1,000 members. We're still about 30 people short, so we need a few more people to sign up to get to 1,000. So tell your friends. Shae, I know you've invited many of your friends, so thank you. Keep it up. We're hoping to get to 1,000 here this month. So check us out at BuiltOnAir.com, BuiltOnAir.com/join to join our Slack community, as well as receive our weekly newsletters to get the updates on this podcast and all things happening in Airtable, as well as resources and more cool things to check out on our website. So with that, we're now going to have Alli walk us through an audience question. There you go, Alli.
Excellent. All right. So this was from the Facebook community over the weekend. Abid Rashid asked about how to send an automated birthday email to his staff. And we had a couple comments saying, yeah, would use an automation when a record matches conditions where a birthday is today. But if you actually were to try and do that, you would likely never get any emails sent because a birthday is one date specifically. This is actually my real birthday that I put in this test data. So 1990 occurred 31 years ago. So we'll never get that email again.
You were born the same day as Donald Duck.
Exactly. Perfect. Actually, I think there is a cartoon character that has that birthday, if I recall correctly. I can't remember. But either way, we would need a formula to take the date of the birthday and turn it into a recurring date that's going to happen this year. So that way you can actually have the automation trigger on the day of the birthday, and you can actually map it out on a calendar. Just to demonstrate, if I created a calendar view now with date of birth, you can see this is just December 2000, and I'd have to scroll through years and years and years to see another one, depending on how old my employees are. So I'm going to write a formula to take these dates and replace the year with today's year. And let's do that. So I always start with an if statement when I'm trying to do any sort of manipulation on a date field, whether that's like date time format, date time diff, etc. I always want to make sure that I have a date field to perform that function on, or else I'm going to get an error. And so I always start with if DOB. So if I have a date, then I want to parse it. I'm going to use the date time parse function, and then also the date time format, because I want to format. Basically, what I want to do is take out the month and the day out of this date and then replace the year with the year of today. So that's what date time parse is going to do. It's going to let me feed it a string of numbers and slashes, and then it'll try and turn it back into a date field. So I'm going to start with date time format DOB, and I'm just going to do MM/DD because that's the only part that I want to take out of that date. And then I'm going to add another slash and the year of today. And then I'm going to tell it, this part is optional, but I like to put it in just in case. This string here is telling my date time parse function that, hey, the string I'm feeding you looks like this. This is the structure of that date. And I'm going to hit create field. Well, I'm going to get rid of the time field first. Let's name this birthday. And you can see that works. So that's showing me the birthdays of everybody, but it's for this year. Now, one thing I did mention in this post was that it would likely throw an error for somebody that was born on leap day, which is actually something I ran into a long time ago. And I never got around to fixing it, but this time I took the opportunity to fix it. So if I change this to, let's put it on a leap day, say for 2000, you can see, oh, that's weird. Okay, no, it does throw an error. I was like, why is that blank? Last time I tested it, definitely threw an error. So if I want to be able to catch that, and here's the caveat, I want to be able to display this date if it is a leap year and put it back to the 28th if it's not a leap year. And so what I'm going to do is just edit this formula one more time. And I'm going to say, if date time format, no, if and, excuse me. So if my date time format, month and day of that birthday field equals 0229, and let's see, year today, actually no, mod year today divided by 4. So the mod function is going to give us it's going to take the year of today, so 2022, divide it by 4, and it would return the remainder. And so if I know if I have anything left over, that it's not a leap year. So I'm saying if and these two things are true, it's not a leap year, and it says 0229 in the birthday, then I want to give it 0228. Otherwise, stick with my regular function. And that should do it. Nope. I think I had one extra. Sorry. I did post it in here just for the sake of time. I'm just going to grab this.
The joys of a poor formula editor.
There we go. So if it were a leap year this year, then this would say 29. So it actually let them keep their real birthday. But because it's not a leap year, and actually just to demo that really quickly, I could put in year, let's say 2000 versus 2022. And if I change this to just year, and also this to year, you can see it keeps it as 1229, but if I move it to 2022, it's back to 1228 because 1229 does not exist.
Nice.
So a couple cool little things there. And then this would allow you to actually plot it out on the calendar. If we change it to birthday, then we can see, and let's put them back all in 2022. And I don't want to have to go all the way back to 2022. So let's just try and find, I'm just going to make a new calendar. That's interesting how it just dropped me back.
Yeah.
In 2000. It did it again. All right. Either way, you should be able to now see all of the birthdays on the calendar, and you can use this date as the launching pad for your automation. And And what's even cooler is as soon as we hit January 1st of 2023, your birthdays will start over.
That's nice. I have something like that, but I never considered leap year.
Right? I hadn't either.
I need to add that.
I wonder, Kavan asked if there's ones multiple to 4 that aren't leap years.
I don't know if does that happen? Maybe if you go back in time far enough.
Yeah.
But for this case, it wouldn't matter. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know. What so 2 things I was thinking was depending on your use case, you could actually, Kavan mentioned another way is using the is error to look for an error. And I guess you could assume that the only error would be the leap year issue. It could be maybe another issue, but there's another use case where you want to know their next birthday. And you might want to do a check to see if we're already past their current birthday in the year, then you add 1 more year. So it's next year's. So depending on what your use case is. So I guess Kavan knows her history. She says 1900 wasn't a leap year, but for birthday reminders, I don't think you're sending birthdays to anybody born in 1900.
That is a good point, Kavan.
Yeah. So the other thought I had was, could you just subtract the current year from their birth year and then do a date add with those years? I think if you do date add, it will account for leap year. So if you date added the years, I think that might avoid that trick. So that might be another approach to take.
I think you're right. Or maybe it wouldn't. I'd need to look at it again. I had a similar use case where I was tracking years of service, and we had somebody that was hired on a leap day, and it was actually showing he had only been employed for 1 year. It was like there was something weird. I want to go back and look at it, but like it totally was not counting the 4 years because it was a leap year. It was like trying to compare it to 228.
Yeah. Maybe do you want to pull your screen up? We've got a minute. We could try it.
All right. Yeah, let's do it.
You could even just do a quick date add test to a leap year date to add it to a year.
Oh, here it is. I was like, where did it go?
Oh, yeah. Let me add it. Okay, there you go.
So if we did their age, is that what we're trying to do?
So if you just you could combine it. Yeah. Add. Yeah, so you'd have to.
We do date time diff. I always get confused about which comes first in date time diff. And I noticed the other day it's the opposite for workday diff.
Oh, really?
Which is so confusing. To DOB.
And I think in the date add, you need the DOB first. Oh, no.
Yep, you're right.
Yeah.
DOB,
and then years. Yeah.
What did I do wrong?
The end of your date time diff, you need to tell it the difference it needs.
Oh, yeah. I've got an extra parenthesis. Okay.
In the wrong. There we go.
Let's see.
That's not working.
So you need to tell it the difference between date of birth and today in years, and you also need to add those years to date add. So date add needs its own year component.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you need a negative.
What? Oh, wait, no.
Oh, yeah.
Here, this goes.
There you go.
There. Well.
So change the birthday to.
Oh. Well, yeah. So it's counting whole years in between, and because those are in December and we're currently in January, it hasn't been a whole year. So Yeah, it's
No. Adding another year to it.
Well, you need to know if
it's in the past, if it's already, yeah.
But it should. No, so that looks. Yeah, so they're all 2022.
Can you put in a date that's January 10th, 2022? Okay.
Yeah.
So if you want to do the next birthday, then that's what this formula is. If you wanted to do what is their birthday this year, then that's another formula.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it does account for the leap year there.
It does, which is pretty cool. But I wonder if we did a date time diff of this to that, what it would return. That's what I got. That's definitely what was happening with that use case I was talking about before. I'm not putting an if statement in because we have like 1 second left here. DOB.
Yeah, or you don't even need to do date time diff. You could just get current year minus birthday year, and that should give you the number of years instead of using date time diff.
Actually, yeah, I think that's the better, because what Kavan is saying is if you would only add the additional if the month and day hasn't passed yet, but if you just want to see the birthday for this year,
I think you want DOB. Yeah, there you go. And then just do date add with that years. Yeah. There you go.
Yay.
Woo! Birthdays.
You did it.
Awesome.
Very good. Fun with dates. I know everybody's enjoyed that. Actually, I'm working on a bug with one of my apps that's calendar date related, time zone issues.
Don't get me started on calendar apps. I don't know why I did this to myself.
This could be a TV show.
I love that.
Yeah. Live coding on TV. Very good. Well, fun stuff. We're at our hour, so glad everybody could join us. Shae, thank you again. Where can people find you? We'll have a link to your website, but we'll send people there.
Thank you. I'm also on Twitter as Shae RR Photos.
Shae RR Photos.
Yes.
Very good. Glad you could join with us. Alli, Camille, good to see you. Camille, glad you're feeling better. Get better. We'll see you next week.
Yep.
Built on Air. Take care. Thank you for joining today's episode. We hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to check out our sponsor, ontoair.com, and we will see you next time on the Built on Air podcast.